Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Be Like Christ. Before we get started, just know that you can download our study PDF on our website at tobelikechrist.com. We are in Proverbs chapter 16 today, and that puts us squarely halfway through the book. Well, not exactly squarely. There are 31 chapters, so it's an odd number, but we're just over the halfway point. This one seems like it's flying by compared to Psalms because I had 150 chapters. As far as our breakdown of the book, we broke it down into three sections: the way of folly versus the way of wisdom, the Proverbs of Solomon, and the Proverbs of Augur and Lemuel. And being in chapter 16, we are in the midst of the Proverbs of Solomon, which span chapter 10 through chapter 29. Three words to look at today. I think all of them are going to be new, at least for this particular study in Proverbs. We haven't seen these before. The first one is to atone. This is in verse 6. It means to repair and make amends for something. The second word is the word oracle. This can have a couple different meanings, but the way we're going to talk about it, it's a statement spoken from divine inspiration or a statement of great wisdom. And then number 3 is an activity, a verb, casting lots. Casting lots was a way of making a random selection, similar to how we might roll dice or draw straws. Nobody knows exactly how the process worked or the instruments that were used, but we do know that sometimes God affected the outcome. If you haven't already, take a look at our interpretive principle, which will help you to understand Proverbs better. But we will now move over to our outline section, our selected proverb section. And again, we have 3 today. Proverb number 1 comes from verse 4. The Lord has made everything for its purpose, even the wicked for the day of trouble. God's creation is very intentional. He didn't fill his world with objects for no purpose. Each plant plays a role in the ecosystem, and every animal is essential to keeping the world in balance. Every human being is integral to God's plan for the earth, both those who love him and obey him, and those who choose to hate him and rebel against him. Before creating the world, God knew that some would obey him and some wouldn't. It's clear to see how God uses those who love him to fulfill his will, right? That's not complicated. But what about the people that hate him? How do they fit into God's plans? Well, one example that we might look at is Pharaoh in the Old Testament or Judas in the New Testament. Judas was the apostle who betrayed Jesus. Judas sold out Jesus for money because he was selfish. God, knowing that Judas would choose a path of selfishness, put him close to Jesus to use him to get Jesus to the cross, which was a necessary part of God's salvation plan. A person can choose to be a sinner, but that doesn't keep God from using them to work out his larger plans. Proverb number 2 comes from verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. When a person exhibits the virtues of God, like generosity, kind-heartedness, service, honesty, love, and helpfulness, it makes it hard for other people to dislike them. They may even win over their enemies through their kindness. Many people are introduced to Jesus through his people displaying his qualities and them taking notice of those good qualities. Now, this isn't to say that everyone is going to love you if you're a good person. Some people may hate you because they hate God. That's another matter entirely, but at least you haven't given them a reason to hate you because of your bad personal character. Living a virtuous life will give you peace with yourself, peace with God, and peace with most other people around you. Remember, the Proverbs are principles, not absolutes. There will be some people that hate you no matter what, but living a virtuous life will win you favor with a lot of people. And now finally, Proverb number 3 for today comes from verse 9. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Planning for the future is not a bad thing. I think we should do it. I think it's part of being responsible. But we need to keep in mind that our plans are not always God's plans. We plan for the future, but ultimately it's God who directs our steps. The truth is that we know very little about the future, and we also know very little about ourselves and sometimes our own hearts and what we need. But God knows the future, and he knows the directions that we need to take to develop into the people that he wants us to be. We should always remember that God's plans are better than our plans, and he's a more faithful guide than our own hearts. If he doesn't permit the plans of our hearts to materialize, we must trust that the plans of his heart are better than ours could have ever imagined. We are little people living short lives, and we have a limited perspective. It should come naturally to us to trust the Creator, whose perspective is so superior to ours, to order our lives and to guide us through life. that should come natural to us, right? That if we're thinking about ourselves and God properly. But of course, we all know that that is a difficult thing to do, but it's something that we need to be practicing, and we need to be reminding ourselves continually, God's plans are better than my plans.